Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee out here by our apple tree today. I'm picking some apples because we're going to be making some apple butter this weekend. I can't tell you how much of a blessing it is to have a fruit tree like this in our backyard. This particular tree here only bears every other year, so we have to can quite a bit on the years that it bears to kind of hold us over till the next time it bears again. And apple butter is kind of the universal thing that everybody likes, so that's what we try to can the most of. Kind of want to show you something here on these apples. I kind of get a kick out of when I go into the grocery store and all the perfect apples are all lined up in the produce department. That's kind of not how country apples are. These country apples here, you know, they're going to have little spots and little blemishes in them. That's just kind of how these country apples are. There's no such thing as a perfect apple that I've seen without a lot of spraying and a lot of kind of bad stuff to put on the trees. But I don't put anything on this tree other than I trim it and prune it every once in a while to make sure that all the dead wood and stuff is out of it. But this is kind of what country apples look like. They're, like I said, they're not perfect, but it's no really big deal when you're peeling and coring these to cut these small little blemishes out when you cook them. But I just kind of wanted to kind of mention that having your own fruit trees doesn't mean you're going to have perfect looking fruit like the produce departments, but it's still perfectly usable and perfectly edible. I mean, these 2 pails full of apples here are going to make quite a bit of apple butter once we get them peeled and cored and start cooking. And that's actually what I'm going to show you guys how to do when I got these in the house there and I start working on making this stuff. I'm going to kind of stop a couple times, show you how I go about and make it. Apple butter is just really simple to make. It takes a little bit of time though, because you got to kind of cook it down. But I'm going to kind of show you guys that, show you how I go about canning that. But anyway, I'm going to come back to you from in the house when we're ready to start going. Starting on my apple butter here, I've peeled, sliced and cored most of my apples. I used about 3/4 of the apples in those buckets for this batch here. As you can see here, I'm kind of heating it up a little bit. I know there's some folks that make apple butter, they puree the stuff before they puree the apples before they even start, but I don't. I just kind of heat them up really good, and then at that point I use my immersion blender. Now if I was going to make this apple butter off grid, like out on a gas burner out on the fire pit, I would heat the apples through good, and then I would actually mash them with a potato masher really fine, and just use the heat of the cooking process to kind of break the apples up. It's kind of to the point now here where I'm going to use my immersion blender to kind of puree this a little bit now that it's heated through, and then I'm going to add my sugar and my cinnamon into it. I don't add a lot of stuff into my apple butter. I just use brown sugar, white sugar, and cinnamon. That's it. And then I just cook it down. And sugar is something too is kind of subjective. You can add as much or as little sugar as you want, because I'm actually going to hot water bath this and can it. So if you want a more tart apple butter, you certainly don't have to use the as much sugar as I'm going to use. I'm going to add probably about 4 cups in this to start. I'm going to let it cook down a little bit, and then I'm going to taste it and see what it tastes like. And same thing with the cinnamon. I'm going to use probably 2 tablespoons of cinnamon in this to start with, and then again I'm going to cook this down. I even know people that made apple butter in the old days. They'd throw a couple cinnamon candies in instead of actually putting regular cinnamon in, and that actually works too, but I just use the regular cinnamon. Well, when I got the sugar in this and I got this pureed down a little bit and I got this kind of cooked down just a little bit more, I'm going to come back and show you what it looks like in that stage, and then I'm going to show you the kind of the final hot water bath and then can into this when I'm ready to put this stuff up. But just stick around, guys. And here's the apple butter at the thick applesauce stage. I've added my brown sugar, my white sugar, and my cinnamon into this, and now it kind of just starts the slow cooking process. We're going to cook this all afternoon, run real low, just stirring it from time to time until this cooks down. And you'll know it's apple butter when it turns a real dark brown color, starts to thicken up, gets real smooth. Apples are one of my staple foods that I like, and it's really nice because I can grow my own along with potatoes and corn and stuff. Apples are kind of important food as far as my preps go. And one thing about applesauce and apple butter and apples in general is you can add them to other stuff to improve the flavor of stuff. I mean, apple butter and applesauce are so versatile. You can put it into quick breads. You can have it as toppings on biscuits. You can have it as toppings on pancakes. Apples go really good with pork and chicken. So if you got a pork roast, you don't have anything, a piece of pork, and you don't have anything to season it with, you can put a cup of apple butter onto it and slow cook it, and you're going to still have a really good meal. So apples are kind of important to me, and that's why I always try to make as much as I can when my apple tree bears, as far as sauce and apple butter and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to mention those few things, kind of some of the things that I use this apple butter for. It's not just for toast in the morning, so to speak. It can be used for other things as well. Well, my apple butter's in there cooking, so I decided I was going to bring my peelings and cores outside here and put them back into the garden. Whenever I'm home canning stuff, I never let this kind of stuff go to waste. This always goes back into the garden, get worked in to add organic material and nutrients back into my soil. Well, here we are about 2 hours into the cooking process. As you can see, it's cooked down quite a bit. The color is a lot darker and richer than it was a couple hours ago when we started, and that's because the sugar is caramelizing in the apple butter, and that's what gives it that real dark color. At this point, we decided we were going to taste it, and it was a little bit more tart than we liked it, so then I added another 2 cups of sugar into it. And when I make an apple butter, I use half white sugar and half brown sugar, and that's what I did with it this time. Also, this would be the point if you would want to add more cinnamon, or if there's any other flavorings you'd like into this, you could add this into it. One thing I want to mention about the sugar just real quick: sugar, salt, vinegar, those are 3 things that I always keep quite a bit on hand, just so I can make this kind of stuff. So even if kind of everything goes sideways and I still got a pail of apples and I got a little bit of sugar, I can still make stuff like applesauce or this apple butter with it. So those are things that I want to always keep in my preps, and keep quite a bit of that stuff in my preps. I know I've mentioned that in other videos before. One other thing that I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the different things that I use with this apple butter, one other thing that goes really good with this is hot cereal. So if you like like oatmeal and stuff, boy, a 1/4 cup of this is a really great flavoring for oatmeal. And I know oatmeal is kind of a prep item. A lot of folks keep oatmeal in their preps. I keep oatmeal as well because I make homemade granola and stuff, as well as just cook it to eat it. But anyway, just kind of want to show you guys what this looks like here. I'm going to let this cook probably about another hour yet, and then it's going to start going into the jars for the hot water bath so we can put it up. Well, it's been about another hour, and I decided the apple butter is about the consistency I want it to be, so I started filling into my pint cans here. I'm going to have several pints, so it's going to take a couple canners full to get these hot water bath. I'm going to hot water bath these for about 10 minutes, and when I'm all done, I'm going to kind of show you guys what the final yield's going to be. Well, here's the finished product. It yielded 13 pints of apple butter, and this was about maybe a little bit more than a 5-gallon pail worth of apples that I started out with. So you can kind of see the apples cooked down quite a bit when you're making apple butter. But this stuff is cooling now, getting ready to seal, so I can put it up. But I just kind of wanted to take you guys from the tree to the can kind of in this apple butter making process. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, but I just want to say thank you to all my subscribers out there. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Hope you guys are getting a little bit something out of my videos, but this is Modern Refugee, and you guys have a great day.